It seems to be a story never told before. And why did you choose to tell this story?
I've always been fascinated by this story because it's a story of women who 100 years ago sacrificed so much to fight against inequality and really changed the course of our history. And it was kind of amazing that it had never been told on the big screen before. So it felt overdue as a story for the cinema, but it also felt, as we were researching it, as if it echoed what was going on in the world around us today, and it had a message for now, where women still in parts of the world are fighting for some basic human rights. We still have 62 million girls denied an education. We still don't have enough women represented in governments and boardrooms and labs. So it felt timely.
Thank you very much. And the character of Maud is a fictional character. Why did you choose a fictional character to tell this story and not famous like the Mrs. Pankhurst, for example?
When we were researching the story, we considered the idea of telling the story of Emmeline Pankhurst, the leader of the movement, and making a biopic. But then we decided it would be fascinating to tell the story of these ordinary working women who were very involved in the movement, who in a way had more to lose than the upper class women. They lost families and jobs and homes, and they were at the forefront of change. And their voices, when we read the accounts, felt very contemporary, and the issues they were dealing with felt very relevant. So for the main character of Maud, played by Carey Mulligan, we drew on 3 or 4 real women, and we created a composite character. So everything that happens to Maud happened to a woman we read about, but we melded them into one character.
And how could you explain the choice of Carey Mulligan for this character?
I'd always wanted Carey Mulligan to play Maud, and we worked on the script for 6 years, and we had her in our minds, but we didn't approach her. And it felt like she was the perfect person because she's an actor who is so able to truthfully inhabit a role. And Maud is a character who doesn't reveal much for the first third of the film, and has a rich internal life. And Carey is an actor who can convey all that in her face. And so when we did approach her, we were so keen that she felt as passionately about the project as we did about her. And we were delighted when, within 2 days of reading the script, she said she wanted to do it.
Some people say that when you have to tell a story, you should feel an urgency inside. And so, do you feel that this story is still actual and it needs to be told again and again?
I very much feel it needs to be told. The story of the suffragettes isn't widely known. People really don't know it, and it's been marginalised in the history books, reduced to a couple of lines. It's generally not taught in schools. It was a key bit of our history. These women made a huge effect on our history, and I think that it's important to remind people. And I also think it's got many messages for today in a world where we're still battling with inequalities.
And what about the other actors, for example, Helena and Bonham Carter and the other? Why did you choose them?
I wanted to create a cast that reflected the best of our acting talent and also felt eclectic, so a range of actors. You don't often see them together, and they have very different qualities because the women in the movement were coming from all sorts of different backgrounds. And it was exciting to have Carey at the centre and then an actor like Helena Bonham Carter. She has a funny story because she's the great-granddaughter in real life of Herbert Asquith, who was the British Prime Minister at the time, and he was the enemy of the suffragettes. So she was happy to play this character who was really fighting against her own great-grandfather. And then Anne-MarieDuff is a wonderful theatre actor and also a screen actor who also feels very real and raw and felt great for the part of Violet. And then, of course, Meryl Streep, We wanted, although Emmeline Pankhurst is only in the film for a few minutes, we wanted an icon to play an icon. So we were delighted to get Meryl Streep, who's a great supporter of women's rights in life.
And what about the future, your future projects?
I'd very much like to continue to make films that focus on female stories. Maybe they could be contemporary. I'm working on a few. I think that there's a need for those stories, and I think that there's an appetite for those stories. Women buy more than half of cinema tickets. I think men and women want to see those films, and I'm very much hoping that there will be more stories about women, because at the moment the majority of films focus on men. Thank you very much. Thanks. Good to meet you.